Hello, Precalculus. So we have lesson 3-4. We split it into 2 days. The first day is going to be solving exponential equations, and the second day is going to be solving logarithmic equations. So today we're going to look at how to use algebra. You'll be able to check your answers using the graphing calculator, but if we ever get to give you a quiz or a test or a final, we're going to be looking for your algebra. And there's 2 techniques you're going to use. The first one, we call it same base. That's not an official term. You would have learned it last year in Algebra 2 as the one-to-one property. And another way we can think about that is if 2 powers are equal and they have the same base, then those exponents have to be equal to each other. So that's one option. But there's going to be plenty of problems where that does not work. So we need a backup plan, and that is going to be to log both sides. And you can use any log that you like, base 10, base e, your natural log, or if you're really crazy, you could just pick any other base, but it's probably not efficient for you to do that. So we'll log both sides. So we will look at 3 examples, we'll take a break, and we'll come back and do one problem on a second video, and hopefully it's going to be so much fun. Let's take a look at problem number 1. I think we can zoom in a little bit. So I'm looking at my base of 2 and a base of 16. We can write those using the same base, so nothing happens there. But 16, you know, is 2 to the 4th power. And now the key thing on this problem is going to be using that distributive property correctly. That's where the most mistakes happen, silly stuff. So negative 8x minus 12, and then nothing happening on the left. And now using our one-to-one property, since these 2 powers are equal and they have the same base, then the exponents have to be equal to each other. And now we just have a little bit of fun with algebra, and we get an answer of negative 13 over 11. I wouldn't waste time getting a decimal. I would stop right there. And the nice thing is you guys already know that the domain of an exponential function is all real numbers, so we don't have to worry about extraneous solutions. But if you felt like it, you could check your answer by hand, putting it back in for the x's, or you could also go to the graph and say, hey, here's y1, here's y2. Let's see where they cross. And you know the answer is going to be x equals negative 13 over 11. All right, let's take a look at another example. Keep the party moving. That's what we're going to do. So you're going to subtract 100 from both sides. And now you can try all day to find 2300 as a power of 3, but it is not a power of 3, and so this same base option doesn't work. It's really not an option. So our only choice is to log both sides. So you can use your log of base 10, or I always use natural log because it's less writing, but you can pick your favorite log, base 10 or base e. And so now you have a couple options. You learned your properties in lesson 3.3, so you know that you could bring the entire exponent down, or I know I'm really just trying to solve for x, so I'm going to choose to only bring the x down. So that's totally up to you. And you could rewrite that as an 81 if you want to. You could leave it as 3 to the 4th if you want to. There's some flexibility in these problems here. And now, even though I don't know what the natural log of 3 to the 4th power is, it's just some number. And so we're going to just divide both sides by that number. Now, if you do not like using your calculator, that's fine. You have the exact answer right here. That's going to be a valuable skill in calculus that we'll practice on lots of problems, is not using your calculator until the very last step. So that's one way you could write that as the exact answer. Again, the 3 to the 4th, you could write it as 81. And so now we want to, if you did want to get a decimal value for that, you could do that. Maybe on the final exam, maybe it's multiple choice, maybe we are asking for a decimal, so who knows? So both of those answers are perfect, just like you. All right, one more, and then we'll take a little break. So this is the problem. It's not supposed to be hard, but people get confused because they've never factored with e before. So go back a couple years. You have factored x squared minus 2x minus 8. Just pretend it's like that, right? The same thing that you did when we were trying to factor with sine and cosine and tangent and all those trig functions. So nothing crazy is happening. We know that the first two terms have to multiply to e to the 2x. So that's going to be e to the x times e to the x. We know our last two terms have to multiply to negative 8, but add up to negative 2. So negative 4 and positive 2 will make that happen. Now, just like you've been doing for years, we'll set each factor equal to 0. And here we go. Let's see what's next. So e to the x equals 4, or e to the x equals negative 2. So this goes. So now we're going to go back to our options for solving an exponential. Oh, excuse me, that was unfortunate. I'm not stopping and redoing this whole video. All right. So we know that we can take the natural log of both sides. I like the parentheses because some people forget that. Now we're going to remind ourselves, why does this work? It goes back to our properties from lesson 3.2, day 1. You know that natural log and e are inverse functions, so they undo each other. So natural log of 4 is a perfect answer. Some people do like the decimal better, so maybe they want to go 1.386. That's excellent. So there's an answer. Let's just do that. And you also know from 3.2, day 1 and day 2 that... Well, let's just write as we talk. So x equals the natural log of negative 2. But you do know that the inside of a natural log or any log has to be greater than 0. Can't be negative, can't be 0. So it turns out he does not give us any additional solutions. But you'll see lots of variations on this problem. There could be no answers, there could be 2 answers, or as you saw right here, there could be 1 answer. So you'll get some chances to practice on the homework, and make sure to reach out if you have any questions.